to a good start. It being on or about 6:30, I call the January 29th, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board and commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. The meeting may be broadcast live and will be recorded on ECAT. Could we begin with a roll call vote to establish quorum?
Benson, present.
Carroll, present.
Rossman, present.
Hopewell's present.
Spady, present.
All right, so let's begin with our first order of business, public hearings and possible deliberations, 36 Union Street. Linda Arns, applicant Collins Civil Engineering Group, representative, notice of intent for upgrade to a residential septic system.
All right, he's coming up now. Oh, declined to be a panelist. This is a Collins Civil Engineering project.
You probably just hit the wrong button.
Try again. There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hello?
Peter, how are you?
I didn't decline on purpose. I'm here now. I'm good. We got two tonight, and I guess the first one up is 36 Union Street. When the commission's ready, I'll jump into it.
Ready when you are.
Awesome. Let me pull up my plan. All right. I assume we can see this.
We can see it.
Cool. For the record, Peter Lyons with Collins Civil Engineering Group, here representing the owner. This is a repair on a failed 3-bedroom septic system. Quick overview of the property. We got wetlands to the rear delineated as flags 1 through 6. The 50-foot and 100-foot buffers are shown on the plan, with the 100-foot cutting just behind the back of the house and through the proposed leaching system. As we try to do, the system is pushed as far away as feasibly possible from the resource. Between all the utilities out front, there's just not enough space. So basically what we're proposing is a new septic tank to a piping stone leaching field in the back of the house. This is going to be in an existing lawn area. The tree line is shown on the plan, so the over dig of the system will be coming, just clipping into the existing tree line. Most of the vegetation removal is outside of the 100-foot buffer. Anything in the 100-foot is existing lawn area. There'll be a very minimal grade change in the back of the leaching field. Probably looking at about a ½ a foot. We're proposing erosion control starting at the paved driveway being the project access. That's going to wrap all around and end at the property line. A couple other things with this one. We have some brush and debris in the wooded area between the tree line and the wetlands, proposed to be removed by hand. Also back here, we show 5 proposed conservation markers. Let's see. The compost area, we've proposed out into the existing lawn, getting us a little more distance to the resources. Soil stockpiling area and dewatering pits will occur up around the work, outside the 100-foot buffers. We show our typical details for all that stuff on the plan. Let's see. That's about it. Any questions from the commission?
Peter, could you just walk us through the things that are being removed from the wetland? Because I just sort of had I think there's a couple different patches and I just had a hard time understanding exactly where and what things are.
Sure. So I haven't personally been out to the site in a while. Maybe Jennifer could speak better to it, but I can just see that we show some brush piles along the wetlands. There's one by flag 6. And then it looks like the general area between 3 and 4. There's some more. And then additionally behind the shed, some debris, I would imagine just, construction debris or something behind that shed. So we're just more or less trying to clean up the area between the existing tree line and the resource. I don't know if Jen had anything to add with that.
No, just that all the debris between wetland flag 2 and 5 is actually in the wetland, and it's more than just a brush pile. If you look underneath the brush that's on top, it's been there for quite a while, so it is actually fill in the wetland. Otherwise, that's correct. And there is a new location proposed for composting.
Would a wetland seed mix be appropriate?
Yes.
Peter, any opinion on that? If we condition wetland seed mix, particularly in the area between 2 and 5?
No, that seems reasonable.
Okay. Jennifer, any additional staff comment on this?
No, all the other comments that I made about sediment control or anything on the plan have already been made, and we have the revised plan, so you're ready to close.
Okay. Comments, questions from other members of the commission? Seeing a resounding shrug. I assume you, I should ask, any comments from members of the public? Seeing none, Peter, I assume you'd like to close.
Yes, please.
All right, motion to close the public hearing for 36 Union Street.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, I.
Hopeful's aye.
Spady, aye.
All right, motion to issue a permit for work and order of conditions for 36 Union Street.
Rossman, second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
Hopeful's aye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you, Peter. See you soon.
I got one more, I think, up next.
Calling the next order of business of the Conservation Commission, 585 Turnpike Street, Ryan Mundins, Collins Civil Engineering Group, representative notice of intent for upgrade of a residential septic system. You were correct, Peter.
All right. Again, for the record, Peter with Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing, I guess, in this case, the condo association. This is 585 Turnpike Street, also known as Tara Court. This is the northern section of the apartments. It's on the west side of Turnpike Street. This basically, we were called in to address the existing failed septic system. Quick overview of the site. All the condos are tied into a bunch of tanks currently in this courtyard area and pumped up to a leaching field out in the front. The leaching field is in failure, and upon further inspection, we found all the existing tanks to be into the groundwater as well. So you're gonna see that our proposal, I'll zoom in a little bit. We're putting the leaching system out front where it is originally. That's entirely outside of, wetland jurisdiction resource areas. Where things get a little interesting is in the back of the site. We have a BVW line that wraps around the backside of the condos, which are mostly built up on fill. So pretty much around the whole thing, we're looking at a steep slope right down to the wetlands. Our proposal is to abandon all of these septic tanks in the courtyard. Because as mentioned, they are in the groundwater. They're collecting groundwater and pumping excess water up into the leaching field, causing a premature failure. So the only way we can get these tanks out of the water is to put them down the hill and basically keep them above existing grade. So looking at it from the side, you're going to see some pretty significant concrete block retaining walls with the raised tanks contained within those. So again, the reason we're so close to the resource is pretty much because we're fighting groundwater through the whole site. So we are very close to the wetlands. Our closest tank looks like about 17 feet off of can't read the flag. I think it's wetland flag 1. We are proposing a couple feet of grading and then concrete retaining walls that will help minimize the overall grading impact associated with the cover over these tanks. At the highest point, we're going to be, I think it's about 5 feet, 5 or 6 feet above existing grade to the top of the wall. So a lot of these tanks, just to get a visual of it, are going to be almost above existing grade with the concrete wall around it. So obviously we're going to have pretty significant disturbance back here. So we're proposing substantial erosion control. That's shown by our red. Our site access is going to come right down the side of the buildings. So our erosion control will encompass the access as well as the tank and the retaining wall work. With this project, we've also proposed a bunch of conservation posts along the existing tree line in the back, right around the property. Wetland note 12, couple things going on. Areas to the northern end of the wetlands are to be cleared of litter and debris, revegetated, I would imagine, with a wetland mix, basically between flags 12 and 15. The area had just been kind of over cleared historically, so we're going to bring that back to a little better natural condition. Let's see. I'm sure the commission's got some questions on this one. I don't know if who wants to take lead on it, and I can try to answer anything.
I think it's certainly a challenging site. What's the rationale for putting the tanks at the bottom left?
Basically, the whole site slopes down. So just looking up in the courtyard, we see elevations. 82 is the lowest point. Because of the topography and the poor soils, we actually have groundwater about 2 feet down right here. So these tanks are really deep based on the existing collection systems coming out of all the buildings. So, you know, we have groundwater above these tanks and it's just leaking into the covers. So there's no way we can raise up all the existing plumbing. So essentially we're trying to tie the existing pipes together, and we're basically held using that existing elevation, you know, which pops out further down the hill. There's no way to raise these existing pipes. And they're, you know, 5 or 6 feet down below grade currently.
Okay. So you're utilizing the existing pipes, abandoning the tanks, and putting new tanks downgrade of the existing pipes.
Yeah, essentially, we're gonna grab the pipes back, you know, as far as we can to, you know, help us pick up the height, but most of these are going under the existing slabs and walkways and everything, so, you know, there's really no way to raise the plumbing in this case. So the tanks have to be downhill, you know, away from the high water areas. So we're not just pulling in groundwater and pumping that up to the field.
How many units is this?
How many units? Go around the plan here. Design. It's 38 bedrooms is the design out here.
Okay.
So we're looking at a flow of about 4,200 gallons a day.
And the plan is to replace the existing leaching field exactly where it is?
It's going to be relatively the same area, but it's actually going to be 2 leaching fields, almost double the size of what's out there currently.
Yeah.
The existing leaching, as mentioned, it is outside of jurisdiction. That's all occurring in, you know, existing lawn area, light vegetation along the street. Unfortunately, most of the, you know, intensive tank work and stuff is right up near the wetlands. So
yeah,
now this is kind of what we're looking here.
So to be candid, Peter, I've never seen a raised system quite like this. Or what is on top of these? I mean, is this impervious area being added? Is this?
No proposed impervious, I guess technically the tops of the concrete wall would be impervious, but you know, between the cracks, it's just gonna go where it would anyways.
Okay.
The tanks, they're gonna be loam and seeded over, same deal with the leaching field. This is an existing lawn area, like a playground area currently. So currently impervious, it's gonna be loam and seeded to finish, so no big changes as far as impervious, you know, numbers go.
And where are you at with the Board of Health on this?
I believe that's a good question. I have not been before the Board of Health for it. I know we're anticipating approval. There's really not many options out here, so this is just the best we can do situation. We do have a meeting on site tomorrow with the clients, but we don't expect any, you know, design changes as a result of that.
Okay. Jennifer, I think there might have been some staff comments going back and forth that we're still waiting on.
Well, there are a number of comments in the initial staff report. I think George submitted some information Friday. Peter, do you have that?
Yeah, I
His
do.
response?
I do have the responses to
Okay.
those.
Do you want to tick through that pretty quickly? Because
Yeah, I'll just abbreviate it. The first comment was to add a land surveyor stamp. That has been added and submitted. Comment number 2, the property manager contact information was updated on the wetland forms. Book and page references were verified and amended on the order of conditions application. Questions about grading around the retaining walls. As I mentioned in my report, I guess, there will be minimal grading around the retaining walls. The point of the retaining walls is to help us, you know, minimize the grading footprint. No real changes in, you know, surface water flow. Everything goes uphill to downhill towards the wetlands. Impervious area was asked about. We did request a waiver for work in the EC, but no impervious area. There will be no increase to impervious. Sorry, I'm just trying to summarize these for you. The wetlands report looks like it was modified and resubmitted. National heritage, estimated habitat for rare and endangered species. Line has been added to the plan. Comment 7. Comment 8 references a concrete washout area. The block walls, I guess where the concern with that, they're going to be precast block walls as opposed to cast in place, so we will not need a washout area. Some question with an existing kind of depression in the front that does seasonally hold water. That is going to be filled with the proposed leaching field. We don't, you know, see any detrimental effect to that. The surface water is still going to have a place to go. So we're not going to be, you know, flooding out the parking or anything.
So is that water from the parking lot or from the street? Where's the water come from?
I believe that's coming off of the Washington Street. I don't think there's a berm out there, so I think the surface water flows off of Washington Street and just kind of puddles up on the right side of the driveway as you're entering the property.
Okay, and you went by it pretty quickly for natural heritage line. Can you just show that on your plan
Yeah, I don't know.
as you're going through?
Where is it? Says it was added. I do not see it yet. Apologize, but it is a busy plan.
All the way back, take it up to top near wetland flag 11. You can see it just beyond there.
Ah, there it is. Good, thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's a sneaky one. Yeah, so it looks like
Nailed that, Rory.
runs right along the bottom of the slope.
Okay.
As far as I can see. Yep, and then straight down, yeah, it kind of parallels the wetland line. Going back to the staff report. Question about some discharge pipes towards the wetlands. A lot of these units do have existing sump pumps. As mentioned, there's existing high groundwater that there's really nothing we can do about. So there are sump pumps in multiple units. The water exiting the pipes is clean. There's no risk of, oil or stored chemicals entering it as it's supplied by natural gas. So, we're not worried about oil tanks or anything in the basements. Wetland flag 1 location was slightly modified on the field and reflected on the plan. We've proposed a crushed stone pad at an existing drain outfall location down by the proposed tanks. That will help slow the water down, reduce further scouring before the wetlands.
Just want to put your mouse over that so you can see where it is.
Yeah. That's so there's existing drain structures right here, catch basin, runs out to an outlet. Looks like a 8-inch drain line. So we've just proposed a small kind of splash pad around that before it enters the wetlands. Let's see. The water line existing as shown on the plan does not need to be relocated. We had the water line and gas lines marked out prior to the survey and the design. We are able to meet all the required setbacks for those.
So it's near the block wall, but the block wall isn't over those lines.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Kind of hop back and forth between 2 screens.
Take your time.
I think you're close to the end.
I think I got a couple more. Compost, shrubs and branches are dumped along near wetland flag 1 through WF2A. Those are to be removed. I believe that's the mitigation area we referenced. Dewatering pit was in question. We basically just show a general size and design for that. That'll vary, but its dewatering system is substantial and can take a good amount of water. As mentioned, where the tanks are going, we're not really digging down that deep. So normally these tanks would be deeper in the ground, but here I think we're only digging about 2 feet and then we're gonna set the tanks. So don't intend a huge concern, but we do have, room as, let's see, back here on the plan. We show a dewatering location well up the hill. This is an existing lawn area. It can be expanded or, multiple pits if required. Let's see. I think that was it. Sorry for the tediousness of that, but if the commission has any questions.
Just have two new ones. So the parking lot, there's no plan to redo the parking lot, correct?
Nope. We're basically proposing a 4th main that's gonna wrap around the existing parking. So this is the northern end of the parking here. We're basically gonna trench right behind it. The area, let's see. We will be excavating a small amount of pavement, and it looks like just kind of straightening out the gutter line and putting in some new parking spaces. We lose 7 parking spaces along the southern leaching field. So we're gonna basically take out the eastern edge of the existing parking and modify that a little. Honestly, between construction and everything, this area is kind of gonna get blown out anyways. So it looks like we'll be removing about, I don't know, like a 1-to-1. We'll be taking this area of pavement and putting in some pavement here. So again, outside of jurisdiction, but no real increase in impervious.
Okay, and then the last one, you said the retaining wall was 5 to 6 feet tall. Do you need a railing or a fence around that? The height of that?
Yeah, I think we do. There should be a note somewhere in here. I think it's anything over like 3 feet, 30 inches or 3 feet. Yeah, I mean, I can poke around on the plan, but
Nope, that's okay. It's just a question that came up when you mentioned it. So
Yep.
that actually takes care of all of my questions. Thanks.
Peter, a quick question. Are you gonna clean out the tanks before they're abandoned?
yeah, the existing tanks, typically what will happen with those is they will be pumped and filled. So let me just see. As mentioned, we're gonna try to dig back a little bit. So ideally we would, excavate, tie everybody into the new tanks, and that would stop the flow into the existing tanks, and then we'll be able to pump those out, fill them with a clean sand, and they'd be totally filled of any of their voids. Usually they'll crush in the tops or make sure they're, well filled in, covered up, sealed up, and abandoned in place.
Yeah, thank you.
Comments from any other members of the commission here?
I'm good.
So Jen, it sounds like we have what we need to close, or are we still waiting for additional comments on the plan?
No, I think you're ready now. It'll be you didn't have a draft set, but it'll be pretty
Okay.
much a basic boilerplate set of conditions. You might need a few extra of the markers. Otherwise, it'll be the standard set of conditions.
Comments from members of the public concerning 585 Turnpike Street? All right, seeing none, Peter, I assume you'd like to close.
Yes, please.
Motion to close the public hearing for 585 Turnpike Street.
Second. Crossman, second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
All falls eye.
Spady, aye.
Motion to issue a order of conditions and permit for work for 585 Turnpike Street.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
All falls eye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, that's all I have for you. Thank you all very much. We'll see you next time.
See you soon.
Yeah.
Turn to our next order of business, 565R Foundry Street, Old Pond Dam, Conservation Commission, applicant and representative notice of intent for vegetation removal at Old Pond Dam. So we turn to Jennifer.
Yeah. I see Greg Swan is on here. I promoted him, but I don't think he's coming. He's just peeking. Okay, he's coming on. I didn't think they could come. But that's okay.
Here he is.
Hey, Greg,
Everybody,
did you want to present or did you want me to?
I would like you to. Yes.
All right, hold on. I will share my screen. You can see Old Pond Dam, right?
We can see your screen. Yes.
Okay. So this is off Foundry Street and this is Old Pond Dam. The Office of Dam Safety requires inspections every 5 years. We did our inspection, the engineering company did our inspection last year and found that it's in poor condition and that a number of the vegetation and trees and shrubs need to be removed from the embankment itself. So thanks to DPW, we have this wonderful map. And they've listed all of the trees and their locations. So those all do need to be removed. It's a requirement of Office of Dam Safety. So it's very similar to what we did maybe a year or two ago at New Pond, where all the same thing. The engineering report said we have to remove them. If a tree gets blown over or falls over, it could create a hole in the dam, and then the dam could breach and cause, they could actually wash out the road and cause significant damage downstream to property and potentially loss of life. So that's it. Short and sweet.
Any comments from members of the commission? Greg, did you want to add anything?
No, Jen hit it right on the head. While New Pond is a larger pond, and that was more of a pressing matter, Old Pond does need to be addressed. This will take care of it and will satisfy any number of issues that we have out there. This won't satisfy all of them, but this is a good start.
Yeah.
While we get to work on the other things, I believe this will not be the last time you're seeing this particular dam for improvements we have to make, but at least this is low-hanging fruit that DPW can handle. It's a great time of year to do it. The ground should be frozen, or it should be after this week. It looks like we're going to return to some cold. We can get the equipment in there with very little damage to the ground, and do what we need to do.
Thank you again to our DPW because they are preparing the Office of Dam Safety permit as well. They've submitted that. So thank you guys.
Do we have an idea when it may be done? I just might put a suggestion to the base circuit to close that trail head, just so no one maybe gets hurt or I don't know, whoever maybe through hiking through there for whatever reason. I can just send them a message, but do we have a time frame? If not, no big deal, but
I would actually have to talk to the superintendent of buildings and grounds to see when he can get out there. We've been running all around. We have a ton of projects.
Yeah, I feel it's something midweek and it's like early morning. I'm assuming this
would be a 7 to 3 job. You know, we start at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be loud. It's going to be noisy. There's not going to be any surprises as to what we're doing. And you know, Monday through Friday, this will be not any Saturday work. They'll clean up the site when they're done. They won't leave anything, as they always do. That would be a public impediment.
So the board knows
that. I'll send it over to base circuit just in case.
Yep.
We are asking for a 5-year permit for ongoing maintenance to the dam under this notice of intent. Any additional comments from the board? Any members of the public here to comment? 565R Foundry Street, Old Pond Dam. All right, seeing none, I will let's do a motion to close the public hearing for 565R Foundry Street, Old Pond Dam.
Second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
All falls aye.
Beatty, aye.
Motion to issue a permit for work in order of conditions for 565R Foundry Street.
Rossman, second.
I'm going to give it to Benson. Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Rossman, aye.
All falls aye.
Beatty, aye.
Thank you, Greg.
Biggest snapping turtle I've ever seen was Old Pond, so watch out.
Oh, we're ready. We've run into all manner of creature and critter in our travels.
Thank you. Calling our next order of business, Washington Street, Dickerman Road to Elm Street, Mass DOT. division applicant, Beta Group, representative notice of intent for road improvements on Washington Street from Dickerman Road to Elm Street. The applicant has requested a continuance to the next meeting. Any comment?
Just that there's some changes to at least 3 of the outfalls, but because it's a DOT project, abutters are not notified. Maybe the commission would like me to send something to those people.
Thank you. Yes, please.
And we did have a meeting last week with DOT and our engineering consultant. And so we're working through all the comments that I had in the staff report.
Thank you. So do a motion to continue the DOT project from Washington Street, from Dickerman Road to Elm Street to the next meeting of the Conservation Commission, which is February 12th, 2024.
Eighty second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, I.
Bell's eye.
80 aye.
All right, moving next to continued hearings and possible deliberations. We'll begin with 40 Prospect Street, Andy Sargent, ET Engineering Enterprises, engineering, representative notice of intent for floodplain alteration.
Hmm.
We can hear you, we can see you.
Can you hear me?
We can. Can you hear
Oh,
us?
okay. I sound like the guy doing the telephone commercial on TV. Can you hear me now? Good evening. My name is Azue Tuniru. I'm a principal of ET Engineering Enterprises, Inc. in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. I'm not sure Andy was going to be able to join because he coaches basketball for his son's team. So I wasn't sure if he could make it or not.
It's a good excuse. We'll accept it.
Well, it's good excuse. My kids are not I can't use that anymore. My kids are the age of coaching me now. So, but Jen, can I start about sharing
Yes.
files? Or?
Please do.
Okay, assuming that I know how the heck to do it. Okay. Is this showing?
We're just seeing like a file folder. I think maybe if you click the document, it should open up.
Yeah, I opened the document.
We just see a file folder.
Huh. What do I know?
So try stop sharing and then open it again. It should be there.
Hmm. How about now?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So what we have here is, right now, this is the existing conditions. We prepared this plan in response to a request by Mr., and I'm not sure if he's on joining this meeting, Mr. Hines, William Hines, who purchased the property. He's a young plumber that is trying to start a family. He has his own little business that he operates, runs a very clean operation. So he purchased this property, I probably say a little over a year and a half ago, if I'm not mistaken. But right here is the basically a blow up of the existing conditions. He has the existing house right here, and about 3 years ago, the septic system was upgraded because the existing system had failed. And so this whole area, we've identified some of the trees that existed, and this area apparently was disturbed. He had a storage unit shed that he had here, over here, some lawn area. And so this whole area right here is pretty much the active use area. Right here is the existing driveway, and there's a lot of stairs that leads into the house. And as you can see, half of the property is dominated by wetlands resources, including the riverfront associated with the Black Brook that flows in a southerly direction. And so what we have done is assist Mr. Hines with preparation of a plan. Now, this hearing, and I would appreciate, I thank you for indulging us, because this hearing was supposed to have been had back at the beginning of the month, but I traveled out of the country for a funeral. So Jennifer accommodated us and allowed us to be on this particular agenda. So what we have here is basically a proposed garage right here, that highlighted in blue, and then a driveway to be stabilized with the pavement, just so that, as you can see how close the resources are, when you're plowing an unpaved driveway, you're going to be moving dirt, and you're going to be replacing the gravel every year, which I don't believe personally. Well, being in a resource area like this, it's a fairly good idea to be doing that. And so there has been a lot of disturbance right through this area here. Let me blow this up a little bit more. Okay, so there has been some disturbance in this whole area right here, this area right here, right through here. And what Mr. Hines, obviously, like everybody else that buys a new property and is trying to start a family, excited and doing some work, I believe Jennifer went by and observed what was going on and issued an enforcement order. Bill has not done any more work on the property since receiving the enforcement order, as far as I know it. And so what we have shown here is basically the trees that I'm in bad shape and hanging precariously around the house. So those are proposed for the removal. And then we're proposing a bunch of new trees put together by Mr. Ken Thompson. Ken Thompson delineated the wetlands resources, and he's proposed some tree planting details and specifications. I am not a tree expert, but he has done a fairly good job. If you recall, the one that he did on, I'm gonna bite my tongue all over, Posquatan of Pocatincan, I forgot how to say that name, but he did put together a good plan. What we've also proposed is a permanent use area in terms of providing a visual barrier. So what you see here is a proposed post and rail fence coming through here, right through here. And let me call this up and up to here. And then our cutting off right in here so that this area is the area that is being utilized. Now, the question is, has there been a lot of fill put on the property? Because of the way the dirt is spread all over the place, it's very hard to say it was 12 inches or 2 feet, but based on hand digging with a shovel without the benefit of a bobcat or a backhoe, without the benefit of either one of them, I can tell that what I've seen is anywhere from 6 inches, 4 inches around this area here, and about a foot right in here, but then it thins out in this area here. So what we're trying to do, proposing to do, is put this garage so that it provides actually a physical limit for where the his truck can pull into and park and be out of sight. And then he also has a contractor's truck that he uses to service homes with this plumbing business. We're also proposing permanent conservation markers, and we have a detail here for those conservation markers. Right over here, highlighted in orange, it's a 24 by 16 stormwater recharge area to provide for recharge for the garage. And the volume calculations that we submitted clearly demonstrate that a recharge system will work. We've submitted some waiver requests under the Commission's Eastern Code 225 for 225 or 227 to allow the work to be done. I think if the Commission were to approve this, Mr. Hines would indeed hire an environmental monitor approved by the Commission to oversee the cleanup, the planting, and the tree removal work, and will provide our reports as required. Now we did receive a detailed report from Jennifer. I believe some of the responses that we provided in the revised narrative and address some of those comments. But I think I would want to hear any other comments that the Commission may have, and then all the public, and then we can then request a continuation to allow us to provide a more comprehensive response to both the Commission's comments or questions, as well as the detailed report that Jennifer put together. And I'm still trying to adjust to my jet lag and everything else. So definitely requesting a continuation will be part of this presentation, just so that we can articulate in more detail a response to your comments as well as Jennifer's comments.
Thank you. Jennifer, would you mind starting with staff comment on this?
Sure. This, as was mentioned, this filing is the result of 2 violations, one that resulted in an enforcement order. So we are certainly glad to have the application before us. But there are a number of comments. I don't think, as you touched on all the resource areas for the property, did you want to go over those again?
Yeah, so what is that? So we do have the riverfront, basically the property, if you look over here, right here, the whole property, this is the 100-foot inner riparian. This line that I'm following right here, that is the inner riparian boundary of the riverfront. So you can see that this whole area is in the riverfront. Well, the 200-foot riverfront obviously goes beyond the property. So basically, the entire property is in the riverfront. It is also located in the ACEC, an area of critical environmental concern. Right over here is the let me see here, the floodplain. There is a floodplain, base flood elevation of 86, which is shown in bold dashed blue line right here. And as you can see, under your local regulations, riverfront, base flood also has a buffer zone, which will put this whole area inside that buffer zone, including the existing house. The actual floodplain elevation, mapped elevation is 86, which is this contour here. So the proposed garage and the paving driveway and the existing house are outside the physical limits of the floodplain, but are 100% in the buffer zone associated with floodplain. Because even though the Wetlands Protection Act does not have buffer zone associated with the floodplain, Chapter 227 does include buffer zone, and that is not highlighted here because this whole area is in that 50-foot buffer zone. And then the other resource is a bordering vegetated wetlands, which is basically right here, flagged by Ken Thompson. I believe it starts right here, KT1, all through here to KT30. And then it has a 100-foot buffer zone associated with it, which is highlighted right here. That is the 100-foot buffer zone for the BVW. And then there's a 50-foot also buffer zone associated under the local Chapter 227 associated with the BVW. And that is this lighter blue line here, coming along here, right through here, right through here. Yeah, I believe those are the resources, Jennifer. And
Yep, just bank. That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so most of the comments that I had are due to the fact that all of the grading in the violation area was actually in the floodplain. There's new fill in the floodplain. Most of the comments have to do with that. The driveway, we're also in the ACEC. The driveway appears to have been 8 feet wide in 2021, and now it's about 25 feet wide. So that is additional pavement within the floodplain area. The restoration area only lists trees, but it should include shrubs and herbaceous cover. The amount of alteration and filling should also be on the plans. The waivers should be on the waiver forms that were provided. A lot of the comments still remain. Proposed stormwater management. It looks like portions of the swale and the infiltration area are in the floodplain, so I don't know how that would work. And the other comments about the 25-foot, I mean, a minimum of 25 feet, no disturbance areas required, even just for pollution control. You have a 50-foot no disturb area, and the proposed alteration is up to or within 2 or 3 feet of the wetland. And so I understand you're going to be providing written comments for a written response for all of those comments, and then we can take a look at those when they're submitted.
Mm-hmm. I will note, Jen, I will note that we did upload the waiver forms, but that was after you had made that comment. So we did upload those. And some of the work, again, I will provide from my office a more detailed response. But some of the work that are going to be in those resource areas will be to clean up the work that was done to restore the area. So, in order to address the enforcement order, we will need to get in there to do that removal work. The quantification, I provided a square footage of the disturbance, but in order to quantify, give you a volumetric value. I didn't want to be doing work that would be necessary to do that, and then incur additional penalty without our authorization to go ahead and do that work, and perhaps have Jen witness the work that we're doing to establish the depth of the any material that may have been placed there. So that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we do it properly. In order to give you a volume, I have to do some digging to see what the original ground was, and then the depth of the material, and then be able to specify how much of that material has to come out. So there's a little bit of a method of madness, but I don't want to be a co-defendant in violation. So
So you're asking to do that with the machine, is what you're asking?
yes, it would be able to do want to do that, so that but we will have to schedule that with your offer.
That's something you can schedule.
Yeah.
There are also significant comments from DEP that need to be addressed. But yeah, you can email me and schedule that meeting.
Okay.
Comments from any members of the commission? Rory?
So I think that one of the challenges here with this project is the waiver requests. I don't think that, taking a glance at the waiver requests, that only public interest is related to the upgrading the property itself. So there really isn't a public interest per se. It's that interest is more in the applicant's interest as much as more than so than the public interest. This is this puzzle we get into with single family homes, right? I mean, it's the same one that we struggle with all the time, but I do want to raise that issue now. Maybe start to formulate some sort of understanding of what our threshold on public interest is going to be here.
Thank you, Rory.
The other question I had was, and somebody just give me some visual of the property. So the essentially it's mostly bare ground at this point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have a stone dust driveway and bare ground that's basically surrounding this home. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments from members of the commission? Comments from members of the public? Seeing none, as I assume you'd like a continuance?
Yes, sir. And it will probably just show that I don't come back wasting your time in a couple of weeks. I probably will be saying more like a month or so, just because then I have to schedule, depend on what the weather is doing. I don't want to be doing a test pit when it's raining and every place is soupy. You know what I'm saying? So I want to be able to pick a time where it's a little bit less less infraction. So if we can continue to about a month away, and then in the meantime, I will reach out to Jen's office tomorrow or Wednesday to see her availability to come out and meet with us to do the exploration work. And then
your choices are March 4th or March 25th.
Okay, we probably should do the March 4th.
Okay.
And then I will know where we are 2 weeks before then. And then I can request in writing a continuation if we're not going to be ready. And because I really don't want to waste your time and then frustrate you, you know, and I'm not doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's do a motion to continue 40 Prospect Street to the March 4th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Caulfield second.
Carol motion, Caulfield second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's eye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.
You too. Turning to our next order of business, 102 Eastman Street. Notice of intent for improvements to a liquefied natural gas storage facility. This applicant has requested a continuance to the next meeting, and I think the message is that we will see them at the next meeting with some updates and quite a bit to tell us about these plans. Any comments from the commission about this further extension? Okay. Motion to continue 102 Eastman Street to the February 12th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's eye.
Spady, aye.
Right. Our next order of business is 20 Meeting House Lane. Notice of intent for a septic repair. And this was continued from 1/8/24.
So Brad is not able to be here tonight, so I have the plan to share with you. And you can see 20 Meeting House.
Yep.
So the septic system was proposed in this location. Wetland is over here. This is the floodplain elevation, so the septic system was proposed in the floodplain. And after reviewing and having discussions with the Board of Health, Brad has moved the septic system outside of the floodplain area, and we've received the revised plans, so
Great.
you have all the information you need now.
So for recap for the board, this was a situation where we're having questions about compensatory storage. And this has sort of been abated by the fact that it's no longer going to result in any change to the floodplain. Questions or comments from members of the board? Seeing none, questions or comments from members of the public regarding 20 Meeting House Lane. Again, seeing none, motion to close the public hearing for 20 Meeting House Lane.
Crossman, second.
Carol motion, Crossman second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's eye.
Spady, aye.
Motion to issue a order of conditions and permit for work for 20 Meeting House Lane.
Caulfield second.
Carol motion, Caulfield second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's eye.
Spady, aye.
Easy enough. On to our next order of business, request for amendment. 16 Good Speed Lane. EB Development, Ekstrom Home Design, applicant JK Holmgren Engineering, representative request for amendment of existing order of conditions for a single family home.
Good evening.
Hello?
Scott, how are you?
How are you?
Good, you?
Good. So for the record, my name is Scott Rogers from JK Home Engineering. I'm going to try to share my screen best I can. That or no?
We can see a file folder. We do not
Okay.
see plans.
I think you have to what did it say? On stop sharing, then share again. That works. That's what I've heard.
Worked for a zoo.
If you open the, you have to have your files open before you share the screen.
Gotcha. How about now?
You're up.
Yes, but if you
Worked
could
again.
take that X and close out the all tools little panel, then it'll make this easier to see.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Feel like I'm getting better at this finally. Baby steps. So this project's been before you before. The original order of condition was issued back in March of 2022. So there's been some changes and we're requesting to modify that existing order. So that's the overall site. You can see lot 5, you were obviously here for that. 6 is also on the plan. It shows that one's under construction. And then lot 4 is the one on the right of my plan. I'm going to go to the blow up so you can see this a little bit better.
Is that a revised plan, Scott?
It is, yes.
Okay.
That was revised January 24th, I believe. So on the on this particular job, there was some changes to the size of the residence. That did get a little bit bigger. The decks in the back are smaller than the original approved plan. And probably the substantial change in the good direction was that the driveway got about 44% smaller. The old design had the driveway and the garage on the north side of the site. This is kind of a mirrored version of that, but with the driveway on the north side of the site, the driveway had to come in not straight in like it's showing here, but it had to go in on a side angle. So the driveway was considerably larger on that particular, the one that was approved. So this is an improvement in that regard. There is a small increase in the overall impervious. I think it's about 4.5%, 4.6% increase from what was originally approved. So to compensate for that change, that what we've done is the old plan did have a bioretention area. This particular plan has added in a sediment forebay, which would be a pre-treatment device prior to the bioretention area. That's located just to the south of the garage and the driveway entranceway, if you will. We also updated the original order of conditions, I'm sorry, the original operation and maintenance plan. Since that time of a couple of years ago, we've gotten some comments from review engineers about different amounts of inspection reporting and all those kind of timing issues. So we've updated those documents for all of our projects. We also provided a new drainage report to the Conservation Commission that analyzes that sediment forebay in the bioretention area. We did receive, I believe it was last week, maybe 7 to 10 days ago, some comments from Jennifer, and to just highlight the big ones that we changed. We did modify the buffer zone enhancement, which is located on the eastern side of the site. I had a little bit slightly different arrangement, so that's back to what was approved back in 2022. That's what was approved before. On the southern side of the driveway, we did add a Cape Cod berm, so the water's not just discharging off into just regular grass areas. It's basically, there's a Cape Cod berm which will direct that water to the low point, which is basically going to be a riprap swale. That'll direct the runoff into the sediment forebay, and from there it'll overflow into the bioretention area. And we also added some symbols to the buffer zone enhancement landscape schedule, which obviously matched the plan itself. So there's a better system for figuring out exactly which plants we're proposing in that buffer zone enhancement. So those are the highlights. There was some few other things that Jennifer commented on, but I think we've addressed all of her questions in our letter that was dated probably late January, maybe 5 days ago or whatever. So with that, I'd like to answer any questions that you may have.
Scott, could you just tell us the change in impervious surface here?
Yep. So let's see. So the building itself, the house itself went from a little over 2,000 square feet to 2,600 square feet. I'm just rounding numbers here. The decks went from like 160 to 132, so that's smaller. The limit of work is about 500 square feet or so larger. And the driveway went from a little over 1,000 square feet to a little under 600 square feet. So the total impervious went from about 3,200 square feet to about 3,300, and I'm rounding, so a slight increase. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Jennifer, do we have staff comment on this?
Scott, did you let us know you did more revised plans in another letter? Because I don't recall seeing this plan and the, what's the date at the bottom of that?
January 24th. Those should be all uploaded to Permanize if I did my job right. Response letter that went with it.
I don't remember seeing that. We don't always get notified when you upload stuff, so people usually send an email and the hard copies are required, so we know that they were done.
I'll make sure I start sending emails, and the hard copy should have been delivered too. I don't. Sometimes we deliver on Fridays, or sometimes certain offices aren't there, so the plans may have gone to planning and zoning, or not Board of Health, hopefully, but.
Yeah, I definitely don't remember seeing this plan, especially where it says steps. And that was one of the comments of what are all those boxes over there? So all the whole area with all those little lines and those little boxes, that's impervious too, isn't it?
And we didn't call out specific types of materials. I'm not sure if it's going to be, wood with pea stone between it. Doesn't have to be necessarily concrete or paved.
And so how will the commission know what that is? Because that would count toward impervious.
I mean, I can talk to Ethan, but I can tell you, we can definitely give you a type of material for that.
The bioretention area is less than 10 feet from the swale. Did you look at the stormwater handbook and see if that was a certain required distance?
So in my letter, the swale is a conveyance BMP, and the bioretention area is a treatment BMP. So typically, sometimes you'll have both of them used in a project. The swale will direct water towards an infiltration basin or a bioretention area, so there's no minimum requirement separation between the two of them.
So that's usually when they're going from one to another, not necessarily right next to each other, right?
Right, but there's still no separation requirement.
Scott, is there another sheet to this where it shows just the house a little clearer?
The first sheet's
That's the first sheet.
Yeah, that's the smaller scale, and that's the blow up.
Okay.
I can get you the architectural plans if you want to see those.
No, it's more the area with the driveway and the you said you're gonna have a stone area that goes into the forebay.
Yeah, riprap swale, correct.
And that's at elevation, what elevation?
So the garage itself is at like 124.8 and the low point's at 123.9. I wish I had that letter. Well, I can open the letter, but I analyzed, one of the questions you had was the slope from the garage to the low point.
Yes.
And I believe that one slope is like 2.5% and the steepest is 2.7. So it's not dead flat, but it's certainly not steep.
Okay. Okay, well, just having looked at it tonight, it looks like you've addressed the questions, but I'll have to take a closer look. Make sure we have the hard copy of the plan in the office. But
Questions or
yeah, it appears you've answered the question.
questions or comments from members of the commission on this? Seeing none, questions or comments from members of the public on this? Seeing none. Jen, do you need more time to review this? Sorry to put you on the spot.
I'm just trying to remember if I already have a draft order or not. I don't think it wasn't in the binder, so you haven't seen the
No.
draft order. So then, yes, we would need some more time to review
Yeah,
this.
yeah. No, that tracks.
Yeah.
So Scott, I'm gonna make a motion to continue this to our next meeting, which is December, February 12th, 2024.
Okay.
All right. Motion to continue 16 Goodspeed Lane to the February 12th, 2024 meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission.
Beatty, second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's eye.
Spady, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Do you stay for the next one or no?
That's not me, Jennifer.
Okay.
I know it's Ethan, but I think it's Collins Engineering.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So, our next order of business, request for extension 9 Reardon Way, EB development applicant Collins Civil Engineering, extension of order of conditions to construct a single family home and road widening project.
So at the last meeting, you had a motion to approve the extension, provided that you received the surety amount at a reasonable estimate, and that the surety had been signed. We do not have that information yet.
Okay.
And so it's been more than 21 days since the last meeting, so you would need to rescind this motion. You would need to rescind the motion from the January 8 meeting to approve the extension, provided that the surety had been placed. I said that so you could just do so moved.
So moved.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, kinda. Spady a second. Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's eye.
Spady, aye.
So that said, they could still provide the information. Their permit does not expire until March. And so if they pull together their information and make another request for the February meeting, you can still entertain the request for an extension.
That makes sense. Moving on to certificates of compliance, 204 Massapog Ave.
Yes, this was the project where they wanted to fill in an existing swimming pool. They have buyers for the house who are more interested in repairing the septic, I mean, the swimming pool. And so
Different kind of pool.
they would like a certificate of compliance, closing out the document, noting that no work was ever started on this project. And then the new owners will come in for a separate permit to repair.
So moved.
Second. So Crossman motion, Carol second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Paul Felside.
Spady, aye.
Next up is 7 Elderberry Drive, which has requested, the applicant has requested a continuance to the next meeting. Motion to continue 7 Elderberry Drive to the February 12th, 2024 meeting of the Conservation Commission.
Benson, second.
Carol motion, Benson second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Paul Felside.
Spady, aye.
All right, moving on to enforcement. Let's begin with 321 Bay Road, compost in the wetland.
This was a new issue. I was asked to do an inspection from the building inspector's office. There is a lot of compost right up against the wetland and certainly within 50 feet of it. I sent the violation letter asking for it to be removed. Collins Engineering called and said he spoke with the applicant or the property owner and they would like to leave it in place. I said, you have my recommendation in your violation letter, but I will ask the commission.
Yeah, I think just something needs to be done about it. I think if it's not done, whoever buys the house is going to think they can continue to put compost exactly where it's been being placed.
Correct.
So I guess is the first step of response saying, no, something needs to be done about this, or do we move?
Yeah, so you can say, please remove the compost and you don't need a motion for that. Just a general head nodding. Yes, you're in agreement.
Yes.
Agreed. We held up a certificate of compliance based on a similar problem.
Yep. And I know we just started enforcement, but there is one person still hanging around in the meeting. So do you want to skip to board discussion, Clifford Grant, and just have a super quick conversation about that so they don't have to hang out all night?
Yes, please. Good call.
Okay, so Clifford Grant land acquisition, we have the surveyor had already done the survey plan. I gave it to town council. Town council had some questions about how it would be referenced in moving forward with the purchase of the property. And so they wanted to go back to the original language of this really old book and page. But when he did that, the title examiner said, well, it's slightly less land than what you think you're getting. I said, how much? He said 0.1 of an acre. I sent that information to you guys just to make sure that you were okay with that. You individually said, yes, it was not a problem. And so we are just here tonight to ratify the vote that it was okay that the amount of land is, 0.1 acres less than what you anticipate. It's not going to change the appraisal.
Yes.
Purchase.
So I guess though, how does that, not to belabor this, how does that happen where we had a survey? Is the title referencing one number and the survey is referencing another?
It's more like the shape of it and old plans, and then trying to make sure, like, as properties change over time, all the new ones fit together the same way. They just weren't fitting together. Some reference stone walls, some reference other distances. Sometimes they just don't line up. So, I mean, it's pretty close. It's not like, oh, it's 5 acres smaller. It's 0.1. And
we're not using it for crops, so yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's not a problem. So you already technically had your vote, so you can just vote to ratify that it is okay that the Clifford Grant land acquisition is 0.1 acres less than what you saw in the survey.
So moved.
Maybe second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, I.
Paul Fels, aye.
Spady, aye.
May I note that, Ben, your question almost ruined the first so moved, but Jen made up for it, so we were able to so move it second
You
time.
nailed it. I'm just too inquisitive.
So it's still in process. We do not have a date or know when the letters are actually going to go out or when town council will finish their review. It's still being reviewed and we're still working on it. And so we can go back to enforcement.
$105 million.
Yes, that was another building permit project that I reviewed. It was a lot of clearing, a very large shed that's right up against the wetlands. The cleared vegetation was dumped into the wetland. The property owner was home when I was there. Was looking to take care of everything, even recently came in looking for surveyors and engineers so they could call and get the wetland permit for it. So they are cooperating.
Good.
230 Main Street. You sent an enforcement order again in December 19th and requiring the restoration plan to be submitted before tonight's meeting. We did receive that last Friday. I started going through it. I do have some questions and comments that I'll be going over with the wetland consultant, probably at the site, and we'll try to tighten that up a little bit before the 2/12 meeting where I would expect her to show up and present that to you.
Great.
24 Summer Street, we still have not received a reply. We gave it another 3 weeks since the last meeting because we had been contacted by an engineer just to get some information and hoping that there would be some reply, but there has not been.
I think it's time for an enforcement order.
Okay, and when, in the enforcement order, when would you like the restoration plan presented to you?
3/4/2024 meeting of the commission.
Okay, 3/4/24.
It gives them 6 weeks.
And to appear.
Yes, please.
So probably need a motion.
Motion to well, first, anybody disagree with that plan?
The only thing I'd suggest is that the plan comes to us the week before. Otherwise, they'll be submitting it on 3/1 or something.
Okay.
We'll have
Good
no
point.
time to review it.
So motion to issue an enforcement order for 24 Summer Street, noting that a plan be submitted to the Conservation Commission 1 week before the meeting of 3/4/2024. So I can pull up my calendar, Jennifer. So the plan would be due on February 26th, 2024.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spadia second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, I.
Paul Fels, aye.
Spady, aye.
Okay.
And 109 Rockland, I was expecting a restoration plan to come, pretty soon. In December, we were contacted by the wetland consultant. Have not received it, sent an email asking for a status update and was just told we did the survey. So would you like to require a date to receive this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I proposed the same date we just did.
26 and appear.
On the 4th.
Taking that as a motion, second.
Thank you, Rory. Carol motion, Caulfield second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Rossman, I.
Paul Fels, aye.
Spady, aye.
And that's just to notify them, or we we already gave an enforcement order. They're in contact. It's just to notify them, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
So up next is board discussions. So first order of business is reviewing the minutes from 1/8/24. Al, you're on deck.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the 1/8/24 meeting as amended.
Carol second. So Benson with the motion, Carol second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Paul Felzai.
Spady, aye.
Concom meeting schedule change.
Yes, I know we just adopted the schedule, but I have a conflict for that Tuesday, April 16th that we had selected. So I'm suggesting April 8th and April 29th to be the meetings instead, if that's good with everyone.
Any objections from anybody? Do we need a vote on that, Jennifer?
No. Just make sure it's good.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
So next is final Easton Wetland Regulation Revision, section 503.
Yeah, I didn't hear back from town council the second time I sent it. But I did find a number of references that weren't correct. So I changed all of those. You have the most up-to-date version. And I thought we voted at the last meeting, but I didn't write down the vote and we didn't catch it in the minutes. So we should just do the vote today, just so I have a very clear voting to approve those. So. Unless
So-
there are questions.
Anybody have questions or comments? Okay, so I'll do a motion to approve the updated and amended wetland regulation revisions.
Spady, second.
Carol motion, Spady a second, roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Paul Felzai.
Spady, aye.
Okay, thank you.
For the
Sweet.
record, Jen, you did vote.
I thought so, but I can't believe I didn't write it down.
I actually went back and watched that part of I wanted to see what happens.
All right, we're getting close to the end here. Hang in there.
We did Clifford Grant, Wheaton Farm Barn, license versus lease, take it away.
Yes, so we did finally get a contract for someone to go in and make structural drawings for repairs to the barn. While we were talking, we were saying the lease, the license is really a short-term agreement and it's not supposed to be used year after year after year. And so town council thinks it'd be much cleaner if we went for a lease instead, but that's an Article 97 conversion. So it does require Conservation Commission approval, town meeting approval, and both houses of the legislature. So it would end up being pretty much the same as Tufts Farm, where we can do a longer term lease. It also benefits the tenant because they might be able to get funding to improve, things at the farms.
So we think this is easier? We need to
I
get
wouldn't
approval
say
from the
easy.
legislature?
Maybe if I said easier, I guess that's not really what I meant.
I agree that, yeah. All right,
It's
so
more legal, I suppose, is what I should be saying. Yeah, so I did ask town council for more information on the difference between the license and the lease, but I have not received that information, but we needed to start the conversation with you guys first to see if you're like, yeah, that's okay, or no, we don't want to do that.
So are we talking about excuse me, Mr. Chair, are we talking about the use of the Wheaton Farm property for some of the growing that goes on there?
Correct. The property and the barn.
So we only have we only grant a license to use that property?
Correct.
Huh.
Conservation property, you can do a license, but it's really a short term thing, a certain amount of months but not years and years.
Langwater uses that.
It's a
right?
long license.
Oops.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Ben's comment, and I know that some of it was said in jest, and I think it was just in relation to the way it was matter-of-factorly said, oh, yeah, we just need to get both, houses of the legislature to approve it, and, town meeting to approve it, and,
Biden
it
needs to
sounds like
sign
that.
off real quick.
I can just, the legal bill right now, I'm already sort of counting it. So I'm just wondering, is that a feasible approach, and something that we think is relatively straightforward? I mean, I assume that we can get, our own local legislators to support it, but I don't think anybody's going to object to it, once it gets to that far. But
It's also the first discussion. If you would like to have town council or anyone else
Well,
come and
we'll
have a
have zero
discussion.
discussions about it, but but I also want the use of the land to be appropriate, so I mean I think we're so speaking it for myself as a member of the Conservation Commission, I'm pleased to see the property used in an agricultural use, and so if there's an effort that we need to make that more conforming with the property ownership, then I think we should do it. I mean, the fact that it's getting used for agricultural use is probably something we never even envisioned when we first had it. So
I agree completely.
Same.
Okay, so I'll keep moving toward getting more information for you guys. And
Yeah.
we can at least say, yes, we're in general agreement to start the process. Okay, thanks.
So
The
next up
next
is
thing-
Would
MACC
it be
dues.
possible to get some timelines on the options relating to the farm?
I
Because I
can try.
just have no idea, which option would take how long and cost how much, if that's doable.
Okay,
And it doesn't have to be to the penny.
But I think next up, Jennifer, is just the dues. MACC.
yeah, it's just MACC dues. We brought this up, but we didn't have a full board, so everyone wanted to make sure, there was a full board for the discussion. It's just that the dues are increasing again for FY25 to $738. And I know you're, from the discussion last year, yes, MACC is a valuable, thing to have. And it's just a question of, are you guys, utilizing those benefits to the best ability possible? Are there classes you guys want to take? Remember that we pay for them, and just make a plug for the annual environmental conference that's coming up on March 2nd. So if people are interested in classes, let us know so we can start the enrollment.
So I'll give my annual plug for support for the MACC. My own experience with MACC has been incredibly positive, and I know I've done probably more than a dozen classes over the years, and I've learned something at each and every one of them. They put on a good event when you go to these things. Even if you go to standalone classes, they do a good job. And I also think that there are things that you really ought to, if you haven't looked at the catalog of things they have, you really should, because there are things I didn't even know that they would do something like that. So I can remember going to the Cape. Forgive me for digressing here, but I can remember going to the Cape for a sediment and erosion control seminar that I just couldn't believe how much I learned in that event. I had no idea I had to know that much about sediment and erosion control. So the one thing that I do caution you is immediately when you come back from one of these things, you want to start implementing all the things you've heard at the class. But it's a good event, and you certainly learn something from each one of them. And I strongly encourage you, and I should get myself in gear and get back to the annual conference now that we've got COVID behind us.
And I'll be presenting this year.
Oh, I'm in then. I'll be front row.
It is in person.
What day of the week is that?
Saturday.
Saturday.
It's usually the
Right.
first Saturday in March.
My excuses are dwindling.
It's at Holy Cross. Plentiful free parking.
Usually a snowstorm.
Oh,
Lunch wasn't bad.
gee.
I am pro renewing for both orgs.
I've already made my case, so
Bro,
I want someone to be anti so bad.
I'll see pro, it's all Al now.
Yeah, pro here.
Huh. All right, share updates. I don't have any updates this week. Environmental planner updates. Jen, I think you have some fun ones.
Oh, DEP has finally released all the things they've been working on for the last 5 years, but they did it all at the same time,
It's slightly terrifying.
all with the same due dates for comments. So all the wetland regulation changes, and I gave you, the links in your agenda. Most of it has to do with coastal regs, which doesn't really impact us, but I do need to go through it and make sure there's nothing else snuck in there. The stormwater handbook is completely scrapped and redone. It's 860 pages, so when I'm gonna go through that, I don't know. But there's a lot to go through, and most of those are really good positive changes using most recent rainfall data instead of the 1960 data.
That's what's terrifying, is we've been just under designing everything involving stormwater management.
So lots of changes there. It's also to align the town's MS4 permit with the EPA so that they're not conflicting requirements. So we have been looking forward to these changes for a while. And then we don't really get involved with 401 water quality and waterways to Chapter 91 too often, but in case you were interested, those are there.
What's the process for actually approving and implementing these?
So there's usually the public comment period, and then they review the comments, we assume, and then they just approve them.
And then when they're approved,
Final
they become,
version, like, oh, here's the final version.
okay, and they just become incorporated into the code.
Correct.
Fair
I
enough.
understand there'll be like a 6-month leeway for stormwater management, just because people have been designing
Yeah.
along the way, but certainly, if you're paying attention, you're making those changes now so that you're ready to go when it is adopted. I expect to have a comment letter prepared and then sent to you guys, so you can take a look at it first.
That would be great. Thank you.
That's it.
All right, any pertinent item not reasonably anticipated by the chair? Anybody have anything they want to add? One final motion. Who wants to make it?
Motion to adjourn.
Carol second. Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Paul Phil's eye.
Spady, aye.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you,
everyone.
Yes.
Shout out to the Office of Dam Management tonight. They did a great job.
Sneaking in that 5-year permit.
Couldn't help it after hearing that said 7 times.
See ya.
Awesome. Later, guys.
Thank you.
Right.
Good night.